pregame.com.
We have an ACC showdown on ESPN Thursday night. This is Brad Powers in the pregame.com studios just off the Vegas Strip, and we indeed do have a showdown in the ACC Atlantic Division. We have Louisville at North Carolina State.
And any game with Lamar Jackson against any decent opponent gets moved to prime time. Who do you like?
I like the opponent here. I like NC State, the home underdog. That's right, we're taking NC State plus the 3.5. But let's talk about Louisville and Lamar Jackson. I continually think, as far as comparing to my power ratings, that Louisville continually is overpriced in the marketplace. Why? Because of their outstanding quarterback, Lamar Jackson. Football, as far as the public, they love betting offense, and there's nobody football sexy is what we like to talk about, sexier than Lamar Jackson. How about this? Last 14 games, 3-11 against the number is Louisville, and I'm going to continue to play against a team that's overpriced. That's why I think there's value on the Wolfpack plus the points.
Yeah, now the public obviously thinks of Louisville as a borderline top 10 team. They don't like NC State, but your power ratings have the two teams closer together, right? Yeah,
on a neutral field, I would favor Louisville by about 3.5, 4 points. But when you factor in the home field advantage, I got this game closer to pick. Here's why I have the two teams in my top 25. Louisville's around number 16 in the country. I think that's completely fair. They're totally outclassed, obviously, at home against Clemson. Clemson's a top 5 team. Here's where I think the difference is. I have NC State power as a top 25 legitimate team, and it looks like the market's got them outside the top 25.
So I would be remiss not to bring up last year. 44-0 Louisville. Not final score, at the end of the first half. And I also have to mention my math guys. They don't like this NC State team. They look at the yards per play that this team gains, and their schedule's not been difficult, and it is not impressive. Two strong reasons to not like NC State.
All right, let me attack your math guys first. Of course, when they're compared against Louisville, the yards per play, Lamar Jackson makes Louisville look better on paper than a lot of teams in the country because of his explosiveness. NC State doesn't have that explosiveness, but what I see is efficiency. Their quarterback hasn't thrown an interception yet this season. He's very efficient. They're methodical. They don't have the big play capability, but they don't beat themselves. So that's why I like NC State. And here's where it's different than last year. NC State last year, Fez was in a horrible spot. They're off an outright upset win over Notre Dame, one of their biggest wins in years. Then the very next week, they're playing Clemson, the eventual national champs. They have them beat the entire game. They're lining up for a chip shot field goal at the end of regulation, 30 yards, dead center. They miss it, lose in overtime. So they're completely flat, even though they're playing a Louisville team, and that explains some of the reason why they were down big time at halftime.
So let's talk about the situational spot here, your second key handicap. I think that Louisville has had 3 weeks to prepare. Normally, we don't like the road team here on a Thursday night game, but since they got to play two cupcakes back-to-back, I think it's a really good situational spot from that perspective.
You are onto something there. It is Louisville. It's not like they were coming off of a Clemson game, and it's a short travel week. So it's in their favor in that part. But here's where I think NC State's got big-time revenge. Obviously getting embarrassed last year, but now you're at home on a short travel week. You knew that last year's game was out of hand from the start of it. And I also think Louisville, are they going to be able to handle this? Because I look at their road games so far this season. Neutral site game in the opener against Purdue, didn't cover. And then their only true road game so far prior to this one is a noon kickoff, half-empty stadium in North Carolina. I don't know if this young Louisville team's going to be used to this atmosphere yet.
Speaking of that young Louisville team with possible distractions, I have to ask you about the whole allegations against the basketball team. Call me jaded. I would be shocked if something nefarious wasn't going on as well with the football team. How big a distraction is that?
Yeah, I didn't, factor it in my handicap or even in my power ratings, but it's not a good thing because you got the Bobby Petrino had been asked questions because that was the athletic director that hired him, so he's getting that distractions. Of course, the football players are probably close-knit. The athletes on campus all hang out with one another regardless of what team you're on. So I would say it's definitely not a positive, but it's something I didn't factor in. But again, it's another reason why you might want to lean towards NC State.
Yeah, so the math initially had me on the favorite. You have talked me out of it. Let's make it official.
Yeah, let's make this official. We're taking NC State plus the points. Their opponent, Louisville, continually overpriced because of Lamar Jackson, who's football sexy. The reality is they're 3-11 against the spread their last 14 games. Plus, NC State, love the spot here. Big revenge for them, and they're in a much better spot than last year playing Louisville when they were off Notre Dame, off Clemson. Now they get Louisville on a short travel week at home with revenge. Add it all up, NC State plus the points is the pick. More videos at pregame.com.